amazing musicians to our guests. We've got, you know these folks because they.
Well, we went to school together.
Right.
Did you know that?
At Rice?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were in school at the same time.
That's so cool.
Not at Juilliard, at Rice.
But I was not a music major.
Okay.
And what were you?
I was a chemistry major.
Yeah. So you knew Dr. Lewis,
Mhm.
who's my best friend's father.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Well, you know,
Oh,
Tim.
world.
Of course,
Very
his
small
dad.
world.
Oh, that's
And
his.
Dr. Lewis's wife knew my dad before they got married. Because my dad shelved books at the Bonner Library in 1950 or something.
Wow.
At the same time being the principal flutist in the symphony.
That's sort of,
It's kind of non-musical job.
sounds kind of fun. Yeah, actually, yeah. I love when it's just such a small world. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we've got 4 of our adult students here, and they are just stars of our program, and I get inspired by y'all every week. And we've been spending more time together because of Monday nights, which has been super fun.
Oh, the class.
But I've been looking forward to this Saturday for, gosh, I don't think I'd be hyperbolic to say like years, because I don't think you've worked with this group before. And Tim is one of the most thoughtful musicians. He's an artist of just incredible integrity. He's such a good teacher. He's performed everywhere, but he's really an essential, just one of the most essential parts of Houston's music community. And it's just, I think you guys are really gonna enjoy today, and I think it's gonna have a huge impact. So, and he's funny. And he has, he knows great places to eat in Houston.
I do. Yes.
And this is Saba.
Hi, I'm so sorry.
Saba. Are the girls here already?
No, they're
Okay.
being dropped off separately.
Okay. Because I was going to offer to hang out with them.
Yeah, we're simplifying it this morning.
Okay,
Kind of.
cool. So you guys have a great time.
So we have until 11:30?
Yeah, so I'll bring over at least Carter and Wendy and maybe a third teenager around 11.
11.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Good. Thanks.
Yeah. Text me if you need anything. I'll be popping back.
Okay. Great. So you come here every week for a class? No.
Once a month.
Monday night.
Once a month.
Monday night we have a
Monday.
different topics class.
Right.
Out of
I have a
performance.
student, Maria Itkin, who comes, I think, to that. So great. Well, I'm interested in hearing you play and getting to know each of you and kind of what you're about. So who would like to start?
I'll go.
You go? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Michelle.
well, by the fire. So I'm saying 3 short preludes from Scribbin and studying music. And you can afford to
Do you
get
need-
together. No, I don't need it.
Wow.
I'm just giving them to you.
Okay. Nice. Screw up.
And then I do 4 and then 3.
That was awesome, by the way.
Thank you. I do 4 and then 3.
Oh, I love 4. Okay, great. Now which one?
3.
3. You know, my teacher's teacher was Sriya.
Oh, really?
So
Wow.
Albert Hershey
Wow.
taught here,
Okay.
and I studied with him all growing up and all through school. And his teacher was named Danae Lavoie
Oh,
Harris. And she studied with Arthur Schnabel, but mainly Sriya.
Wow. Okay.
And so there's this, you know,
Connection,
so
yeah.
yeah,
That's
so
fantastic.
now technically, since I'm teaching you this,
Yeah, right.
then you are a,
Yeah. That's great. I got that connection.
you're a
already.
great granddaughter
Yeah,
of
that's
Sriya.
great. That's fantastic.
Okay, so let's just talk about a few
Okay,
things
sure.
that you can think about that may seem like you've never done anything quite the same. So one thing would be if you see number 6, let's take number 6. You see octaves, you see some ties, and do you see any slurs anywhere? I don't see any. I see ties all over the place,
Right.
but no slurs. So it makes me think, if I looked at this and I tried to orchestrate it, I might give, let's say I wanted it to be a string ensemble, and the cellos would play and double basses would play the bottom clef. They would bow, they would go dee da 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 like this. So I think what we want to try to do is to not use your pedal so as a blending, but more controlling your articulation,
Okay.
so that we hear more pedal changes. And then secondly, have you ever played fourth finger octaves?
Yeah, some. Kind of switching from 5 and 4.
Yeah, on the black keys, fourth finger, that would be something that you could
Okay.
strive to do. So, do you want to try? First of all, don't worry about the fourth finger on the octaves, but let's try just moving your foot a little bit to hear if you can separate some of these octaves.
Okay, so more on the tight first, kind of.
So what you would do? Let me show you. You'd play your accents strong. Let's see. Now, I could easily use pedal here, but at this point, since the B is not slurred to the A sharp and the A sharp is a separate note, I want to make sure I'm off the pedal. I want to get off of this one. So if I did it with one hand alone, so my right hand is the same thing. So we'll try that first, and then when you put them together, I have to get off. So I'm just hearing that note. And I can get off. So essentially what you do is you put your foot down for the accents,
Okay.
and then you don't sustain. And by putting it down for the accents, it's going to... Wait, before you sit down, I'll demonstrate one kind of
Okay.
cool thing.
Okay.
Accents can be enhanced by the foot. So if I play a scale with a full pedal, you hear it like this. Now if I move my foot every fourth note, look what happens. It sounds like I'm accenting with my fingers, but I'm not. So if I used a very shallow pedal, maybe something like this, and then I move my foot, you hear little slight accents. So by using your foot for the accents, that'll help them really, really come out. Okay, so let's try first how about the right, or left hand alone's fine, and just to listen to it. So let's try releasing the pedal before you play the A sharp. So in other words, so the D should not connect to the C sharp. One more time. Yeah, so what you're doing is you're shifting and letting your foot finish the note. So try it one more time and think about getting ready for the A sharp while your foot is finishing the note. So put your finger here, now lift up it before you play, lift the foot. Lift. And this is right, this one's without pedal, okay? One more time, and make sure to lift the foot before you play the A sharp. So get ready for it, lift. Now play the D. Shift. Lift the foot. Right. So it's an order of thought thing that you're probably not quite used to.
Right. So how do you do it with the two together? Because you have to keep.
There are
doing
two
it.
things going on at once.
Right.
What that means is that you'll end up just putting your foot down for each accent. So you'll think down. Now I'm free, so I'm ready, and I lift. Now the accents go away because you're making a diminuendo. So I
So
know
also you're doing the 4 and 5 just with the right hand? For
I,
5?
most of the time I'll try to do fourth finger. Now, it won't always be. I mean, I might even use fourth finger on, but you know, that's a secondary thing. I think it's a technique that you should get used to doing. If you,
Well, I
if you,
I used to do it, but I haven't been doing it recently.
Uh-huh.
Just because I wasn't sure.
Well, so these are things that you can think about.
Okay.
The other thing that we can talk about is in dynamic control. If I have a mezzo forte and I'm making a crescendo, what I might do is actually voice the octaves. So that I might start by not giving as much thumb and voice to the bottom. And then as I make my crescendo, then I'll add more thumb.
Okay.
So it'll be a
interesting.
fuller
Wow,
sound.
that's a lot of work.
So it's a lot to think about. But that's,
Okay, no, I get it, yeah.
Hi.
yeah.
Hi,
what is your name?
Emily.
Emily. Welcome. Yeah.
Yeah,
Tim. Yeah. Yeah, so that's another,
Okay.
that's a complicating thing. But
Yeah.
that's sometimes
Wow.
what we do. But so
So
just,
how does that become habitual?
yeah, that's the hard thing. All of these things are, you know, techniques
Right.
that you, like even the concept that we're going to talk about in the next piece is depth of pedal.
Okay.
You know, ideally you want your ears to tell you to do it, but
Right,
in order
right,
to
right,
do it,
right.
you really have to exaggerate paying attention.
Okay.
And that means even, actually you can't, can you go, is this on?
Yeah, it's all.
Oh, okay. Oh dear. Well, can you go around the
Oh,
piano?
sure, yeah.
And I'm going to show you, just so you can see, go around here. You see the teeth of the dampers? So that the strings are like this and the dampers go in. So a full pedal, they're way up in the air. And as I lift my foot, so that's full pedal. That's a quarter pedal or less. The idea is to put the teeth of the dampers to allow the strings, but to really control them.
Okay.
Now, if I play a melody, like in the next piece, if I have a melody note, you can see the damper of that melody note is higher than the rest. See, if I put my foot down all the way, all the dampers come up. If I lift my foot all the way, that damper is still up.
Okay.
Now the goal is, in order to control the sound, that I'm working my foot in this depth. So if I have, like in your first measure here, now this note is the melody note, but these, so this note's ringing, or any other melody. Do you hear how this is? So getting used to doing that is, and I have my graduates do this, I have them play one note and taper it. So I want you to come try do it. Try do this. Just want you to play one repeated note and let your foot control the tapering of the note. So just play the G. Now lift your foot more. There. Now listen, slow down your strokes and listen to each note finish. Finish the note first before you let the next note play. Play one. Now finish it. Lift your foot. Yeah. And the next. And lift, release each one. Give it a little bit of singing quality. A little deeper. And a little more pedal. Less and less. And let each note finish. Lift your foot. There you go. Yes. Lift your foot. So each note finishes. And that's the kind of,
That's a lot of hearing yeah.
And
yeah,
yet,
yeah.
you visually, you can see it, it's all physics,
Right,
right?
right.
But hopefully eventually your
Yeah,
ear
the
will give you
ear.
that.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
and if you do that, then you end up kind of sculpting your sound to a softer dynamic. And then it'll sound like, you see, remember I
So
asked
would
you
you
about
do the
this.
same also with this, with the shifting from as you crescendo,
Well, you
kind of-
could. The louder you play, the deeper your foot can go.
Okay.
If it's something soft like this, remember I was asking you for you to find slurs. So the middle layer, these quarter notes don't have any slurs. So if I were going to orchestrate that, I might have muted viola or something, and you'd go like this, and each note would be like. You see how each note finishes like this? So. You see? And so if I, at any point, I could stop, like when I play G sharp here, and I want to make sure that note finish. You see? So you can hear the note slowing down, stopping. So even a note like at the end. There. Can you try that last note? And use your pedal to taper to the very end. Right. Right. Now, Tim, you know about, it's Tim, right?
Yeah,
You know about the asymptote in calculus?
yeah, yeah.
So that's what we're talking about is the more you release the pedal, the slower you should be going until it's almost like liquid turning to gas. You know, that point where you can't hear the note anymore is so indistinct. And so you want that foot to go slower and slower as you release. So that's something you can think about. Is there anything in this piece that you're having trouble with, or you're?
So the only problem, measure 7 and 8, and 7/8 are for
These-
whatever. Those two measures are the ones that are kind of like I have to really,
Okay.
think about it because I sometimes mess it up. But everything else is pretty okay. It's just a matter of
Can you play your right hand alone without pedal? Now, that's good. Can you connect the top note and release the other two? See, it's going to impact your fingering, right? Okay, let me show you because you can hear. Well, that's okay. So, and if I put a little bit of pedal. Alright. So the idea is that, again, you're using a shallow pedal, but I want to hear that.
So do you practice it with just the top note then? Is that
Well, I need to
really?
practice it with the other notes because I want to make sure my fingering's right.
okay.
So what I see, like these last three chords, I see a melody that changes. The other notes are all the same. So I think about the cumulative effect of these two notes over and over again. It sounds like a garbage truck backing up, you know. Bring it in, fellas! It's like, you know. And the idea is that you want this touch to be really different than this. So I'm thinking down
Okay,
and releasing the other two. So I'll practice it like this, and then I'll relax that idea and simply try to play, and then pedal it with the shallow pedal. And I think if you do that, you'll feel like you're turning loose of the piano a
Right,
little
right,
bit.
Okay.
You want to try it again?
Okay,
Just
sure.
your right hand? It's okay, you'd have to figure out the fingerings, but. Try to connect. Stay on the top note. Even if you have to switch fingers, switch, do a finger replacement. That's good. Now third finger. Yeah. And but hold on to the top. Release the other two. Yeah. Right. Get the idea? Okay. So this is what I would say an essential part of
Okay.
advanced technique
Yeah, okay.
is voicing.
Yeah, that's
So-
great, thank you.
Okay, good. All right, I guess we need to
Yeah,
move on. So
appreciate it.
thank you.
Fantastic,
Bravo.
thank
Who would like to try something out?
Why not?
Okay.
Schubert Impromptu in A flat major. I didn't bring you a music copy. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
This is the posthumous version.
Huh.
142, number 2.
Is it okay if I turn pages?
Oh, please.
Okay, great. Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah.
Just in the All right. Good.
It's hard to concentrate through the whole thing.
And you didn't do the repeat. I'm sorry about the
Oh,
repeats,
that's okay.
but I know that they're.
Yeah,
his
time,
pieces-
yeah.
His pieces are very. Have you played a lot of Schubert?
No.
Interesting.
Very
So you know
little.
he's a song composer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and wrote a ton of piano music, and so I think you play really well. So, like, let's take the last chord.
Okay.
Can you play that chord? Bring out the third of the chord. You know what I mean when I say that?
In the left hand? The,
Yes, the C a little bit more, and then I want you to taper with your foot and really make the ending very, very soft.
Okay.
A little bit more of the C and a longer chord. Let your foot finish. Yeah, let me show you. So
Okay.
that's good. And when you let your foot finish the chord, so you play the chord, and then when you feel like it's about time to finish, start to lift.
Okay, so you're doing your fingers and your foot at the same
Well,
time.
actually, I'm finishing. I'm not letting go of the keys because I don't want to give the feeling like I'm going to start signing autographs.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You know.
Yeah.
And so the idea is, I want to make sure that my foot is going to be the one to finish. So I'm still touching, and then I finish, and then I let go. So
Okay.
let's try it.
Okay. I said that was loud. It's kind of fast.
It was just at that last moment. So when you're lifting and time's going by, I kind of felt like you did this at the last, and I want to make sure that it's.
Okay.
So what can happen is when you're trying to release the pedal, you can spend too long too deep,
Mhm.
and then you feel like you have to do this. What's better is if you can release most of it, then you have less to travel,
Mhm.
and you can control that soft release. Try it one more time.
Okay.
Yep, and then just the very last, just a little slower.
I have this problem on my piano at home. It's just a very slightest touch you get, the dampers come off.
Ah,
And then there's a lot at the bottom that's redundant. It's just all the actions at the very top of it.
mm-hmm.
And it's a Steinway also, so.
Well, yeah, their pedal mechanisms can kind of feel different, but they all are similar in that there is a moment where the string leaves, the damper leaves
Yeah.
the string, and so your job is to explore that and do your best to try to get used to that fine line. So anyway, it's something to think about. When you play the opening, I would love it if you see the slurs in the left
Mhm.
hand? If those could be just as important as your right hand melody in terms
Okay.
of touch. So can you finger it in a way that you would hear the A flat connect to B flat? Good, and I'll test you. You can test yourself by not using pedal
Mhm.
to see if you're actually connecting.
Okay.
Let's try. Yeah, so you can hear how, let me play it for you.
Okay.
You can hear. So I want to play slowly enough so that you can actually hear them connect.
Okay.
Can you try one more
Sure.
time without the pedal? Wait. So hang on to the A flat. Good. Now let's do that measure again for your right hand.
Just the right hand or?
Yeah, just your right hand for now, that's fine. So there you have to connect the second beat to the third beat.
Yeah.
Right, so you hear the. Can you do that? That's right. And now with the left hand, and listen for the bottom.
Okay.
That's better. So now if you pedal that,
Mhm.
but play it like that, and put a little bit of pedal down. It's like an Evian spray of pedal. That sounds good. And so you can work on it on this like that
Mhm.
to try again. It's sort of like the Scriabin to make sure that the cumulative effect of these accompanimental, that define the harmony,
Right.
is a softer layer.
Mhm.
So, even though this says forte and fortissimo,
Mhm.
what do you think about trying to use your pedal and lightening up the middle of the texture a little bit so that they sound more round feeling?
Okay.
Let me play it for you so
All
you
right.
can hear. So. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I'm saving my big moment for here and also a little bit here. But for this one, you know, when you have piano and forte, like in Beethoven, for example, this is similar era. You have forte, you have piano, but then you have pianissimo and fortissimo. So
Right.
like the difference between forte and fortissimo is quite extreme. And so the difference between forte and piano is really not quite so extreme. So
Okay.
save your sound a little bit.
Okay.
And the way I suggest doing it is by lightening up on the middle of the texture.
Okay.
And that's great dynamics. Now, think about how this would sound if an orchestra played it. You know, like let's say all the string players going yum pum pum. Those chords would not be so easily tapered and cut so exactly. What if you let the pedal help make them sound more round?
Okay.
So I'm not using my fingers. My
Okay.
foot comes up slower.
Okay.
It's counterintuitive because what's really happening is that I'm finishing the chord while I'm about to play the next chord. So I finish, ready, and so I'm not letting my fingers control the end of the sound. Try that measure. How about just
Okay.
this one right here?
Yeah.
Even slower.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was better. Do it again. All three are the same. Similar. Now, that sounds more orchestral. So you can experiment with that kind of
Okay.
approach. Even let's say it was trombone or something, you would blow, you know, and you would, the sound would come out of the flute, T, or if you sang it, T, tom, tom. And so you want to make sure, because this is a percussion instrument, and we want to make it sound like it's something that's, you know, a little more, like each note has a finish to it.
Are you building in the halls of resonance?
I am thinking that way. I mean, I'm thinking about every note you play sort of has to have an adolescence, a midlife crisis, and senility all rolled into one. It's like, you know, you have to give, each note has a journey, you know, and so if you think of it like that, it changes the way you perceive the flow of the music. So, and you're simply turning loose of the piano a little bit.
Right.
So that's something you can think about.
Yeah.
Now this one is interesting. What do you think is unusual about? Is there anything unusual in this music, on this page?
Well, the transition from major to minor, but I don't know really what you're getting at. Well, it's forte in the minor.
I'm looking at texture, and I'm seeing accents on the second beat,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
which is kind of strange. You
Yeah.
know, it's a little bit. Although, you know, he wrote other pieces, like this one. You know, the off beats. So. It's kind of this unusual thing. So, and there are no slurs. This sort of a kind of, maybe if you slightly pedal a little bit less,
Okay.
and then make sure that your pedal changes are here, down. And the way I like to mark pedalings is, Okay, so let's say your foot goes down here.
Okay.
You can, I'll write lightly in case you want to erase it
Okay.
later. And then I lift slowly, and then I re-pedal here. So if I'm playing down, lift, down, lift, down, down. If I want to use pedal, but actually I don't want to use a lot of pedal.
Okay.
I want to use a shallow pedal.
Okay.
But let's try that pedaling just to see if putting it down on the second beat makes a difference.
I'm gonna do this slow.
Yeah. Let's try it one more time. That's good. Play even slower because, and the idea is that you have to get used to the idea of a slow release across several notes.
Okay.
Okay, so that's, I know that's
It's really hard to do.
messing with you, yeah. Now, it's not, and I want you to understand, this is just a technique. And
Yeah.
it's not something that you necessarily would want to do on every single measure. It
Mhm.
depends on the measure that you're playing.
Just where the accents are.
Yeah, and you can
Yeah.
see how, let me show you
Yeah.
another thing. When you see these,
Mhm.
what are called hairpins,
Mhm.
that's a place where the foot can go down more.
Okay.
So I'll play it for you. So if I put, I'll put a little bit of this lift. The other thing that I'm sure you studied with Todd, right?
I did. He's up for tenure this year, so I'm not studying with him at the moment.
Okay. Well, whoever you're studying with,
Yeah.
have you been taught the technique of blocking chords?
Yeah.
So if you wanted to look for the interesting chords, there's a lot going on right there. Slow harmonic rhythm here. Then this one. Those are the two chords that I think are quite beautiful.
Mhm.
And so when you get to those moments, allow a little more time. So you can indulge a little bit on those. So sometimes I'll put like this in the music, a little exclamation point
Oh,
to
okay.
remind me. So what I did that time, I thought, okay, I'm going to focus on my second beat pedaling.
Mhm.
This I'm going to focus on deepening the pedal and then making it more shallow.
Just kind of let the hairpin
Let
tell
it
you
happen.
what to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And then again, the second
Mhm.
beat pedal for the accents and so on. So that's something you can try. Now to make it, yes?
Is the hairpin a place to do rubato? Is that
Can be.
Can be.
Absolutely. Like Brahms, for example, there's a violin sonata that goes, the melody is, and then he puts a hairpin on that note, he puts a hairpin. So when you play it, you go 1 and 2 and ta-ya, ta-ya. So absolutely, yeah. it's a great place to take time. And in Schubert, let's talk about it because music, you've got your basically your harmony, melody, and rhythm, right? Which is in constant flux. So in this case, harmony is really important. So we're allowing those beautiful moments to pull at the rhythm, or a hairpin can pull at the rhythm, and so something has to give. That's why you can't really practice with a metronome.
Right.
You actually can, but do you want to see how?
Sure.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, this is kind of a little bit strange, but I actually learned this technique in a song of Schubert. Okay, I'm not going to make you do this. But let me think about this. Okay. Okay, now this is going to be strange. This is one tick every 4 measures.
Oh, look.
So I'm going to count to myself, and since I'm interested in the second beat being the accents, I'm going to put this on beat 2 every 4 measures. Let me try.
Okay, yeah.
Hear how it's not so critical that you're with it. What's critical is that you know where it is. And so
So you don't just slow the whole thing down farther and farther and farther.
right, so that you're,
Okay.
if let's say I'm playing along and I come late to the machine, then I know I need to move up. But the point is that I'm aware of it and I have a sense of perspective, and I try to get used to how can I be free and expressive within this set tempo.
Okay.
And so that's a way, and let's say I did it on 22, that would be once every 2 measures. So I'll put it on beat 3. Let's see what happens. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That's a little easier, you see. Or I could put it on any triplet of the measure. And the idea is that you end up kind of being aware of the flow of the music and not normally when we're taught to practice the metronome, everything's on beat.
Right.
But in reality, the way we approach main beats of the bar, the way we come from them, that's why they have conductors, to move us through or to lighten up. And so being aware of that kind of linear flexibility is what is, I think, important about playing music. So anyway, that could be a technique that you could experiment 1 tick per bar on the 3rd beat and see what happens. You'll find out how free can you be. So that's an answer to your question. You could conceivably put it on at a certain point and then really try to stretch. And then you'll find out, well, how much did I stretch? Oh, I'm way late. But like in the case of Brahms that I mentioned, he didn't care if he was late. His students said he played with all kinds of freedom and it didn't matter. He didn't care. Now Chopin's another story. They say, well, he was very exacting, you know. So it's kind of interesting. All right, we better.
Okay.
move on.
Thank you.
Bravo. Okay. David. Thanks. hear the G sharp well, and the way that you tapered it was really beautiful.
David, what was that piece?
It's a song without words.
Mendelssohn.
Mendelssohn, that's it.
You wrote a whole book of songs without words, and you can guess that, you know, our job is to play it as lyrically as possible, as if there were words, and then again distinguishing the melody, which quite often one of the pieces he wrote is called Duetto, which has two melodies going on, but this one you have a beautiful bass line that makes a nice dialogue with the melody, and then you have this fabric of 16th notes that goes along and kind of creates harmony that's very pleasing and kind of soft. I think what we can do, there's one way I want you to try to practice it that I'll show you. And then one general thing that I want you to be aware of is that sometimes when you're trying to play a melody note clearly, the same rhythmic value is being accented in the other hand. And you may not be aware of it. But keep in mind, it's much like on the stage if you have, like, the lead actress has a spotlight, and you have a choice to make. You can either, if you want her to be accentuated, you can turn up that spotlight and her makeup starts to sweat and everything, or you can lower the lights around it. And so that kind of choice is up to you. You could either play the melody note a lot louder, but if it's in a soft place, it's better probably to yield with the accompaniment and play this accompaniment as softly as possible. In fact, in some places, I will choose not even to play the accompaniment. If I want the melody to be really clear and I can mask it with a little pedal, somehow I might not even though the same amount of ink it took to write all those 16th notes clearly, it's more of a color and he's being consistent. So this is something to think about. And in order to get the two different types of touches going, I would suggest what you do, and I'm gonna show you, is to pretend that each one of these figures is a diminuendo of non legato 16ths. So I'm gonna not use pedal, and I'm gonna try to demonstrate that. This is a little extreme practicing, which you may seem odd, because it's marked legato. I'm asking you not to play legato. But if something is legato, we want it to ultimately sound connected. So that means if I'm trying to, say, play an arpeggio like this, and I'm using pedal, I can easily, and without pedal, what I'm more concerned about is the release of every note that I play, that it's consistent. So if I want to play softly, I want to make sure they're similar, and I use a little bit of pedal. And if I want to make a diminuendo, it's difficult to do. So in this case, I'm holding onto the melody. No. And each finger that I play, I want to do it from the surface of the key. So I'm touching. Are you good? Okay. If I play exactly like that with pedal, let's see. first of all, how about just your right hand by itself and just kind of play and let each note slightly separate from each other. So I want you to play it at a speed that's like this so that you play and release. And the idea is to have kind of a pearl-like roundness to it. Yeah. And now do the same thing and put the pedal down lightly, just a slight pedal, and then wah, wah. Yeah. Okay, good. Now take this first beat, the one with the G sharp and the E in the bass, and now let's hear you practice those 4/16ths and try to make a diminuendo on them. They're at the same time, right? So, but let's do it without pedal and let's hear 4 separate notes. But let's separate so you release each one. So don't overhold anything. Let me play for you. So you hear kind of a soft wah, wah, wah. Try it again. Hold on to the bass. Release, yeah. In a slower from the surface of the key. Right, right. So the idea is that when you're on the surface of the key, the hammer is ready and willing to come up. And then you're just kind of tossing it up very gently.
Okay. So you're saying stay on the key.
Stay on the key and go in and out slowly. That's much better. Now pedal that. With the same touch though, don't change your touch. That's the idea. Okay. You know, there are 4 ways to play a note. One is slow in, slow out, which is this. One is fast in, slow out. One is slow in, fast out. And one is what did I say? Fast in,
Fast in,
out.
fast out. Remaining.
Yeah, fast in, fast out. So everything you do is some sort of a thought process that you have to think about, like like a string player thinks about how they finish their bow or their note, and never mind the vibrato. You got to bribe your piano tuner to leave some notes out of tune to provide the vibrato. But that's what I would say in terms of layering. That's something that you need to do. The other thing that you can do is, and let me show you. I'll play this without pedal to test myself to see if I'm really playing as legato as possible. So. So I want to make sure I'm holding the bass line. And so that, by holding the bass line, you're taking the burden off your foot to connect, and your foot can be paying attention to the 16th notes. So that's what I would say. Are there any other tricky places that you're...
No, the biggest thing this brings up for me is I can't memorize with a hoot. And so I'm having to know it, but sight read it as I go so I don't fumble some of the things that are similar sounding but actually finish differently.
They're different, yeah.
And
And that's the case. It's like it's sequential.
Yeah.
And then there are little subtle
Subtle
changes that can
changes
be
as you go.
confusing. So is it memory work is something that you're trying to get better at memorizing, or you're not
I'm
making it?
75, and if I put in the time to memorize that, and in a month if I don't
It's-
play it, it's all full of
It's
Swiss
more
cheese
fun.
holes.
That's what I always talk about. My brain is the
Yeah.
same way. I understand, but so it's more fun to be able to take the whole book and go to the next. I always talk about eating a drumstick. It's like get a few good bites, toss it and go to the next. We don't pick the bone clean, you know, unless we're really, really hungry. I'd rather have a couple of good bites. And so you go through this and you kind of learn. And then after you go through like 20 of these, you come back to this one and it's going to be like angel food cake. It's going to be so much easier to play because you have that technique down of knowing how to layer. That's what this book is about. There's some really gorgeous, like the next one, this one. Have you played this one? Oh, it's just so beautiful. This. But you'll enjoy that one just as much or more than this one. And so go ahead and move on. But keep in mind, work on it slowly and make sure you're just slurs, like I mentioned. When you see a slur, try to play legato, or at least in legato groups. And then anything accompanimental is a different layer, so you have to treat that a little differently. All right, good. Bravo.
So I played Bach again. Bach and French Suite number 2, C minor, Armanda, and also Invention number 1, 2 together.
Great. Good.
Upside down. That would be funny. Oopsie. Was too much technology, I'm not sure.
Second floor, sporting goods.
Thank you.
The last note, however,
Yes.
can you tell me what kind of?
C.
Yeah?
Yes.
What's the length of the note?
Longer. Yeah.
What is-
I don't know how to say
Whole
English.
note.
Whole note. Whole
With
note.
fermata?
Yes.
So can we just do the last
right.
fret somewhere here?
Yes.
You can take it. And let's just see what it sounds like to
That's
hold
right.
it
That's
full
right.
value. Let's assume that the fermata adds another half value. Two, three, four, and a fermata. One, two. So
More
doesn't
longer.
doesn't that feel strange?
It's
So what does that make you think for a second? Why did he write a whole note?
means the ending part is enjoying the sound
Yeah.
and finish.
Yes. Does that have any bearing on the tempo of the piece you play?
I think so because of the faster, about 150. So that's why I guess my mind is finish faster. So I'm not following the.
What I mean is, like, let's say you played it on the violin.
Yes.
It's not written for violin.
Yeah.
Or let's say you played, or on the harpsichord, it's actually, notes don't last that long, you know.
Right.
But let's say you played it on the violin, it would need to be one bow.
Yes.
And on a Baroque violin,
Yeah.
you can't hold a note that long.
Oh.
I mean, you could do it, you could hold it, you know, G, maybe.
Right.
And if that's a whole note with a fermata, what does that tell you about the tempo of the piece?
It's to be faster, right?
It would need to be faster.
Now
Yes.
I
Does it mean
see
it was
that.
for organ?
Huh?
Does it mean it was written for organ?
No, this is written for harpsichord.
You have to have
Yeah,
Mhm.
but that's a good point. So my question is this: let's suppose you accept the concept that perhaps a faster tempo would work.
Yes.
You know, no one knows, right?
Right.
You hear many people play it all different ways.
Yes.
But if this were, let's say you wanted it to be faster,
Mm-hmm.
would it make sense to play all staccato?
Faster staccato, lighter sound to make it?
I don't know, let me try.
Yeah.
Let's say, if I'm gonna say that this note, it's possible.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's also possible to do this. Now, the question is that musical? I don't know.
Oh,
So who knows? But when you get to the end of the piece, I don't know. That's okay. That's still pretty quick, isn't it? So that's the question. Maybe you can work on, I don't care about your articulation. You could do many different ways. Some people feel like scalar motion should
Yeah.
be legato
Yeah.
and disjunct motion should be separate. So which would be? Or you could shape it however you like. One important thing about the ornaments is that I think they need to be on the beat from the upper neighbor.
okay.
And I'm going to show you a harpsichord technique. See if you can tell what I'm doing to make a diminuendo on the...
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, you ready? Watch. What am I doing? No, I'll do it in super slow motion. Watch.
The ball together.
I'm not lifting my finger for the second note. So it's making a natural diminuendo. If you practice it that way, you have to lift the second note slower. Slow. This is a difficult thing to get used to doing. But if you practice it that way, then when you actually play it, you don't have to think about purposely holding it.
I see.
Because your second finger will naturally not go, it won't go down so fast. So when you trill, you don't want to do this, you want to stay below the surface of the key. So work on exaggerating. So that you can try. Sorry, I don't mean to play so much. And so I would experiment with maybe trying a little quicker tempo. Now, do you know what non legato means? Yeah, it's like legato.
Yeah.
It's like legato, but yeah. Now let's try a little slower and let's double check that you're on the beat.
Okay.
Do it again so it's really on the beat.
Okay.
Good. And a little longer on the beat. Yeah, good. Okay, so these are just things that you can think about. Sometimes the last note can be a clue about tempo. No, wait.
Oh, no, you
You trying to escape?
no. Thank you.
And I want us to talk about this now.
Sweet, yes.
Allemande. Again, you'll hear people play a lot of different ways.
Yes.
Usually, Allemande in a suite, you might have a prelude of some sort,
Yes.
and then the Allemande would be second, and then courant,
Courant, yes.
and the courant is usually fast,
Yes, and the jigger.
and bourrée, and
Yeah.
all these things.
Yes.
Allemande, I always think of as a smoother,
Ah.
more fluid
I see.
feeling. But I mean, that's just my opinion.
Sure,
So,
sure.
but to provide contrast. So let's talk about the word tessitura. Does anyone know what that means?
General range at which a piece sits.
Right. It's almost
range.
like range. But if you, like we usually use range in terms of a voice range, like I can sing from here to here.
Right.
Tessitura is where you normally sing
Ah.
within that range,
Where comfortably sits.
where you're comfortable.
I see.
So if you can think about each movement of a suite having its specific tessitura of texture, dynamic, and tempo, and all these things,
Yeah.
and put it in a little bit of a, and then the next movement like this, and then the next movement like this, then you're going to have a more interesting feel. So let's say the courant, let me see.
Yeah.
Can I play here? So this is, there's something like this. Then maybe. It's very different, right. So this is what's fun about
Yes.
This is what's fun of experimenting and trying different ways. So you may say, no, I like it. I want it to be a little more pointed. Now, if you can do that and play it in a way that's dainty, that's nice.
Well, that's
Yeah. So you can try it like that too. So these are just things that you can think about
Okay.
um,
Thank you.
and experiment with. Whenever I see something like this,
Yes.
I like to think of a viol da gamba.
Yes.
Do you know what that is?
It's more
Like a cello
cello
with
or
no
organs.
end pin.
Mm.
Yeah, and so they hold like this. Wow, wow, wow. So if you do that and you decide to have this sound more. Wah, 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 wah. Yeah. So you can try that too. So there's a lot that you can experiment with. Okay?
Thank you very much.
All right, sure. Bravo. Very advanced. Okay.
okay.
Did you say Emily?
Emily.
Emily.
Yes.
Don Giovanni. Are you a singer?
No, just an opera lover.
Oh. Great.
So I am playing Bergmüller, one of his Etude number 7. It's Le Courant Limpide, or the clear stream.
Yes.
been kind of working on them like as technique things, and then some of it are just like, no, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's work on
Right,
it
right,
more. So.
It's interesting because I always talk about, this is Allegro Vivace, but it feels, the music to me feels like it should be more andante.
Yeah.
And whenever I describe Andante to anyone, I always say, pretend you're in a canoe and you're on a stream. And think about the stream as something that might have varying depth. The bottom might be sandy, there might be some rocks. It might vary in width, it might vary in current. And then when you're in the canoe, you can go forward, you can back up, you can stall, you can turn. All of these variables. When you have a sequential rhythm, constant eighth notes, that's what makes it interesting. If you can kind of have us follow you, and that you don't feel compelled to have to be super steady, we'll be able to follow you. Because that's the first thing we catch is beat. We're out there in the audience going, yeah, I feel beat. And what we want to be able to do is be challenged to follow you. So that's something to think about.
Yeah.
Pianistically, this figure in the right hand is a falling interval. Now you've heard of the musical size, right? Like falling second, but this is a falling sixth. So I think what you can do is make your thumb lighter and play down, down. So think down, up, like down, up. Good. And the release of the thumb is slow. You play. See, my wrist and arm are pulling the thumb up slowly. I'm not doing this, but it's one motion. There, perfect.
Yeah.
If you work on trying to do it like that, I think that'll be helpful for your overall tempo, because if the thumb can be light, it's easier for your melody note to be clear and heard. So that's something you can think about. Do you see what's unusual in the first measure that you see? Do you see anything a little bit strange? I'm just asking because you played it very well, and I could hear the melody. But how do you know where the melody is? Do you see the double stems?
Yes.
Ah.
Yes.
That's what I'm after.
Yes.
So
The
that
inner
would be,
voice melody.
excuse me?
The inner voice melody.
Yeah, the inner voice melody is like if you were going to score this for clarinet, and there's a clarinetist going doo, 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 doo. And a lot of clarinetists like to read a magazine at the same time. Doo, 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 doo. They love to like loose of the clarinet and play with just one hand because they can, you know. Anyway.
My sister played bass clarinet. That was all her practicing, like boom.
Yeah. So that's something that if you look at motivically, you have a melody note, and then you have like this, one of these little bitty falling intervals.
Yeah.
So can you play your right hand alone and think about shaping those two extra notes in the beat? So what you need to do is hold on.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm exaggerating. So even though I can't really connect it, I'm trying to, as much as I can, hold on to the melody note. So I want to make sure that your B is held down until right. So let me show you one more time. If you do this, I'm still holding it.
Yeah.
Can we do it slowly like this? So you're holding on. Try fourth finger. I think it might be better. Good. And do connect the G. Sorry. Hold on to your thumb. Yeah. So what I'm trying to see if you can do is not force yourself to connect those two notes. I'd
okay,
rather
I
you
see.
release the D
Yes.
and connect those two notes. Hold. Sorry. Release.
Oh, wait.
Release. And then move
And
your
then
thumb.
move it, okay.
And release always very slowly. Watch my hands. Yes.
That's not written to hold the first note, right?
Well, they're double-stemmed quarter
Yeah,
notes.
so
Oh,
it's
they are.
kind of hard to see, but yeah,
Okay.
you've got the triplet, but then it's
Oh,
got a double stem
Okay, interesting.
on the quarter, on the first of the triplet.
Uh-huh.
So it's part of the
Oh.
triplet, but you also hold it for that
Oh, my
beat.
goodness,
Yeah.
okay.
And
Yeah.
so the idea is this: you can't, physically you can't connect
Yeah.
it, but you're going to be using pedal.
Right.
And so if your touch is, if you're using kind of a shallow pedal, and your right hand touch is light on these notes and using a little bit of pedal, and you're holding this down, that's going to sustain. So we want this to stay down. Good. Now, so you understand where I'm coming from.
Yes,
What
yeah.
what I want you to try, your goal should be to pedal in a way that you're not thinking pedal changes on every note you play,
Right.
but that you're pedaling the phrase. Now, let me show that to you. So if you practice the touch that we're talking about, which I'll do very quickly now. Here there are no double stems. Okay, now I'm going to pedal it, but not with you came in after you
Yes,
didn't hear
yes.
Michelle.
Oh.
Can you go around the piano and look?
Oh, no, I was here for that, but.
You are, okay, then that's all right, then you don't.
Okay.
That's fine. So the idea is that you want to use a shallow pedal, or I don't know if you can see through here. Actually, if you lean down, maybe lean down through there, that's a full pedal.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So a little quicker. So again, watch the pedaling. See how they're not complete?
Yeah.
So that's what we're getting at, is to create a fluid murmuring stream. This is, it's a little bit. So my pedal changes are not abrupt at all. They're
Yeah,
only,
just-
they're like this,
Yeah.
which is different than the actual touch you're using on the beat.
Right.
Your finger is using a firm beat to make the double stem quarter come out.
Right.
So that's long term, that's kind of what we're going for. The first thing to do is, don't worry about the pedal. First thing to do is try to make the second and third note of the beat with a diminuendo and a falling feeling. And that's going to contribute to your more fluid,
Yeah.
watery sound. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that definitely
Okay.
makes sense. Yeah.
And and again, this is all sort of painting a picture, you know, and you want to use your pedal to help create these sonorities.
Right.
And the thing that often happens is that we're all in the habit, and I'll tell you my story about pedaling because, you know, we're all in the habit of maybe our teacher's not telling us anything about pedal. Like I studied with a great teacher at Juilliard, and her name was Adele Marcus, and she was, you know, a legendary pedagogue. So one day I was having a lesson on some Debussy, and I just couldn't please her, you know. And she said, well, look, I mean, I can sit down, she was like 80 something. I can sit down and play this page on one pedal. What's the matter with you? So she sat down and played, and it was incredibly beautiful. I mean, she could get a sound that was just amazing. And I thought, how in the world? So I went back to the practice room, and I tried doing the same thing. I took that page of music and I put my foot down, and I started playing, and it just sounded terrible. And I thought, what is going on? You know, and then it took me a long time to understand that it's like a rheostat on a dimmer switch, that you don't turn it on and off. You don't stop the ringing of the instrument. You control the ringing of the instrument and control because of the varying different types of dampers we have, you control the changes of pedal. So it's like sauce, you know, you add something and it blends, and so you can use, without disengaging the pedal fully, you can manipulate it. And that's what she didn't have the patience to tell me. Which really irritated me and made me mad, because why didn't you say so? You know? And it took me a long time to understand that. And so this is something that, you know, you can, it's just a matter of sort of getting used to this technique, which,
Right.
and I'll give you an example. Here's a perfect example of using the pedal in Debussy. How many of you know Clair de Lune? Yeah. So watch this pedaling. See if you can tell what I'm doing. So. 9 times out of 10, when you hear this performed, this is what you'll hear. Because this changes, you assume that has to be a new pedal. But it doesn't, because you should pedal by the slur. So there's that moment where, yeah, it blends, and then it comes clear. And so it's like a cloud in front of the moon that just suddenly goes away. So it's that moment of just a little bit of not clarity, you know? And so this murmuring idea is what we're after. So I hope that gives you something to think about.
It does, yeah.
And the other thing is to do this. I'm practicing this. You see what I'm doing? I'm overlapping my fingers. So I'm not going like this. I'm allowing this. Okay? So I want to make sure that you have a chance to play.
Yes,
Saba?
yes.
Saba. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. I'm playing Piano by Billy Joel.
Cool. This is such a great song.
It is. I just finished learning it last night. So.
Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to show you something. No, please, have a seat. Do you know what the key bed is?
No.
Just touch that.
Like this.
No, I'm just Sorry, I just can't resist. No. It's
I'm
feel how soft that is?
Yeah.
Okay. So what you want to do, and I think that you'll immediately feel a difference. Get used to the idea of resting on the keys. Now, I had a bad experience one time. I had to play in New York. I had to play harpsichord on a Bach sonata, and I was running late to get to the concert. And I didn't have time to warm up. I just showed up. And the piece started like this. So normally when I would start on a grand piano, I would just go like this and be ready. But on that piano, on that harpsichord, I went, and I started the concert by going, because it just terrified me. If you get used to making sure, now I was watching your right hand when your left hand was busy, and your right hand was just completely comfortable. But then when you did this, then I could tell you were uncomfortable because you're thinking about, well, what note am I going to play?
Yeah.
What finger is this?
Yeah.
But when you're practicing, stay on the keys
Okay.
with all of your fingers as
Yes,
much
okay.
as much as you can.
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
a
going to make
struggle.
you feel a lot more comfortable.
Okay.
Because all it's about is being in position and then sinking into the piano.
Yeah.
And so, and in this piece, there's not a lot of drastic shifts. There are a few, but basically, just do your best to keep your thumbs on the piano and keep all of your fingers touching the keys, because
Okay.
you can rest.
Okay.
And I'll tell you something. If you watch my arm here, I'm going to move my fourth finger. Watch. See my muscle move?
Yeah.
So when I'm playing something, you see all the motion of my finger muscles are here.
Right.
If I'm not resting, then those muscles are going like, okay, what do you want me to do? I'm holding this thing now. What do you want me to do? And the other one needs to play. It's like, get out of my way. I need to play.
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that you're as relaxed as possible, so that whenever you do play, see how I flex and then I relax. So play in a tempo that you can say, okay, I'm going to play this note now, and just go, and then pretty soon you're going to get used to
Okay.
going. So that's one thing
Okay.
to think about. Texture. So you can see how the third beat of each chord, can you see how if I say to you, I want that to be a little lighter, that would make sense, right? So
Yeah.
you would go.
Yeah.
So you can achieve that by playing slower into the key.
Okay.
Meaning if you're resting on the key, you just simply play slower. So don't think so much about, oh, it needs to be soft. Just think about playing more slowly.
Okay.
So I'm thinking fast into the key, now a little less, and then slow into the key.
Okay.
Okay? And you'll immediately find that you have access to more dynamic range.
Okay.
Okay, so that's important. Right hand you can couple because of our knowledge from Rice University, force equals mass times acceleration, right? Is that you can couple the concept of acceleration with force.
Okay.
And you can play, accelerate the key for your melody notes.
Okay.
And that'll be different than the other hand. So
Okay.
in super slow practice, if you can get used to that, that's going to make you feel much more comfortable.
Okay.
I do want to tell you a story about a student of mine that was a boy growing up named Jesse Rubenfeld who could play by ear pretty well, and he loved Billy Joel, and he bought a harmonica.
Yeah.
And then at his senior recital in high school, he played on this stage, Piano Man, and sang it, and played the harmonica. And then PBS, he went to University of Pennsylvania, not for music. And Billy Joel came and did a class, like a performance and lecture and answer questions. They had about 3,000 people in there. wherever, their big whatever it was. And PBS was doing this documentary. And my student Jesse was kind of a brave soul. So he got in line and they had questions. So from the audience, they had a microphone and he stood in line and he finally got his place. And then Billy Joel said, well, what's your question? He said, I wrote a song for you. Can I come play it for you? And Billy Joel, the audience went wild because the student wrote a piece, and he had to say yes. And so he went up on that stage and played about 4 verses, a huge long song with a harmonica by memory, and it was in the style of Piano Man, but it was different music, all for Billy Joel. Can you imagine?
No.
It was like unbelievable, and the place just went wild. Wow. So that, you know, it's fun to they ended up cutting that part of the documentary out, unfortunately, but he had the original tape, so he came and showed it to me. So,
Down the road, I'd like to do it again and learn harmonica.
well, I think it's a
think
great
it'd be
idea.
fun.
Absolutely, yeah. And there are different versions of it, you know. Once you get comfortable with this, there's like a version of it that has a nice introduction that would be, I don't know if you saw his concert at Madison Square Garden.
No.
Recently is like his last performance at Madison Square. It was fantastic. And he did this last on the program. It was awesome. We were talking about Mendelssohn, Songs Without Words. So when you see this, ultimately you want to play it as if you were singing it.
Okay.
So the timing of the melody that you play, get used to reading the words while you play it.
Okay.
And that will affect how you play it.
Okay.
Because you go, it's 9 o'clock on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have that kind of dynamic to the melody. Regular crowd.
Right.
So you won't go regular.
Right.
Regular crowd
Okay.
shuffles in. So it'll be, shuffle is kind of an interesting word.
Right.
And so if you actually play that like you're shuffling,
Uh-huh.
you know, like in line.
Yeah.
Shuffling.
Okay.
And then there's an old man, well that's easy for me to channel. Sitting next to me, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So you go through, and this is what we do when we study Lied, you know, when we study classical music, Schubert songs, we look at the words, we want to translate them so that we know what are
Right.
the colorful words, what are the notes, and in a well-written song, usually interesting words occur at interesting points in the melody or when a chord changes and it's interesting chord. And so you want to linger on places like that.
Right.
So, now do you have a favorite chord, by the way?
No. No. I still feel like I'm new enough where it's all very.
Can I show you my favorite chord?
Yes, please. Oh, in this song.
It's so great. So when you practice it, get used to lingering on that beautiful moment. So again, I'll put an exclamation point on that. Or that's what you call it, we call positive and negative gestures.
Okay.
A gesture is something that when you play it, if it's a positive gesture, you want to go out to the audience. So they go, it's Saba, right? The audience goes, Saba. But if you play it as a negative gesture, let's say I play it softer or something and bring it to you, then they go, oh, Saba. That's a negative gesture. You bring them to you.
Okay.
And so this flux, it's interesting.
Okay.
So even within a phrase, let's say this is a, it could be, there's no rule. Let's say this is a negative gesture. This is constant back and forth that we want to kind of explore.
But that's a
And
helpful context.
Yeah, and that can also have a factor in how you decide to pedal and how you decide to touch the instrument.
Okay.
There's one other thing that I want to tell you, that if you were my student, you want to see what I'd start doing?
Yeah, no, yes, please.
I do this to my grad students all the time, and I say, you're not allowed to write the names of the notes in your music only on the day of a concert.
Okay.
Because if it's the day of a concert, that trumps the,
Yeah,
you got to
okay.
play the right note. You try to play the right notes, believe
Yeah.
me. But as a training thing, what you really want to do is know your notes, but also, more importantly, think intervallically.
Okay.
So that when you're going here to there, you're not thinking C, B, A.
Right.
You're thinking down a second, down a second.
Yeah.
And you want, ideally, you want to have that context,
Okay.
thinking intervallically. A lot of times we don't think intervallically, and that's, I think that's really where you see the energy in the music. It's like I go up a third, up a third, up a fourth, down an octave, up a fourth, up a fifth, and so on. Up a fifth. So I see your teacher's written out the notes that show that those are important.
Yeah.
And so, but also think of the energy involved in getting there.
Right,
Once you're
okay.
reaching and reaching and reaching, and so that's exciting. And then it falls down.
Right. Okay.
Any questions you have about it?
No. Yeah, I still have a lot of work to do with it.
If you
So.
want to play it again.
Oh, sure.
Oh, good. So basic
just-
things to think about. Left-hand chord's a little softer.
Okay.
Keep your hands on the piano. Try
Okay.
to rest. And we're all friends here, right?
Yeah.
We're all family.
I've been trying to count, which I don't usually do for this one. So I'm just gonna, for fun, in my brain, try to sing it. So.
Okay, and then I want to tell you, since you said counting, I want to show you a way of practicing this
Yeah.
that is, I think, useful. I alwasay "and" on the offbeats, and. Oh, that's hard.
That's really hard.
And. So anytime you encounter a problem in rhythm,
Right.
it's like a tangled up yarn. You want to go right into the middle and try to loosen it and try to pull apart at it. So if you have trouble right there, practice saying and then and then and.
Okay.
You see?
No,
And
it's
so-
very hard.
It's very hard to do, but you can get used to doing it.
Okay.
And then the next step would be to test yourself, put a metronome on the offbeat.
Okay.
So you would end up with this. And go slowly so that you can, give yourself. But let's not worry about that now, but that's a practice technique.
Okay.
Okay. Fingers on the keys, thumbs on the keys especially.
Okay. Oh, I can't do the words in my head at the same time.
better, by the way.
Oh, it was? I was super nervous. It felt awful.
But your hands didn't show
Oh.
that you were nervous.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it,
So
it
that
felt,
was-
it flowed so much better.
Yeah.
That's, there's some dissonance there then.
Shifting is a hard thing to do. You have to make sure that you know exactly when to shift and where you're shifting.
Yeah.
And these are the navigators of our hand.
Okay.
So the thumbs need to be the ones who are in charge of where you're going.
Okay.
So as long as you know where your thumb is,
Right, okay.
even if you're not going to play the thumb,
Okay.
know where your thumb is.
Okay.
It's the same thing on the violin. There's a shifting finger. You might be going up to a high note, but what's important is this finger so that you can reach the
Right,
high note.
okay.
So that's part of the art of shifting.
Okay.
So, is there
What's
something?
Wendy?
Yeah.
Wendy.
The high schools.
So, are you Wendy?
Wendy?
Are you supposed to play for us? Oh, that'd be great. Come on up. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah.
I like to go last, so it's a shorter.
Good. Thank you.
I have to head out and pick up the small kids.
Sure,
so
yeah.
Thank you.
Good job.
Have fun with a harmonica.
Oh, well, give me a couple of years.
You want to come around here, Wendy? I guess so. Doing okay? What grade are you in?
Oh,
What grade are you in?
I'm a junior
Junior? Where?
in Zinkeran.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right. That's out west, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. My. Is it okay if I turn pages for you?
Sure.
Sibelius Romance. You have a flair for the dramatic, which is great. It's really great and such a healthy sound. It's really good. Yeah, excellent. Boy, do you have a favorite phrase?
I feel like this whole like building to reach this note.
Uh-huh.
I think it's like pretty cool.
You like that? Have you ever experimented with flutter pedaling?
With sorry, what?
Flutter pedaling?
What's that?
That's where you move your foot. Let me show you. Let's say I'm playing this part, and watch my foot. Although I don't know this piece, but. Like this, or in this scale, maybe. Just keeping your foot moving like this can be a way of or coming down. Let's say the lower you go on the piano, maybe here when you play, you move your foot a little bit more, and that'll avoid accents, but a way of slightly clearing up.
Yeah, can you
Sure.
like the pedal like this?
So I like to mark pedalings in the middle of the score. So I like to, I usually do up and down arrows or slanted arrows, but in this case, I might actually just simply put a squiggle like that, just to remind me to kind of move my foot a lot, and especially like in a place like this, to move my foot. Or in a place like this, where you could see the pedal markings are every other note, but you might decide that that's not enough. You may decide down low that you want to move every note, and then maybe as you get higher, you might want to leave them down. It just depends on experimenting and coming up with what can provide the most exciting clarity. The thing to avoid is a sameness of pedaling, a sameness of change, because that will end up making a passage that should be organically growing. It'll chop it up and make it sound measured, and that's what you don't want in a place like this, I think. So you can try that and see. I just love, the place that I love is this. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, like I tried to do like the dynamics here, like piano.
Yeah, it sounded beautiful the way you played it. It was really nice. And it's just, you just pour yourself into it. It sounds beautiful. So, one thing I think you could do is, because the melody's in the left hand, you want to make sure that your right hand's in control in terms of not letting it ring too much. So let's try, can we try the beginning with a slightly more shallow pedal? Now, do you know what I mean by shallow?
Like the,
Don't push it down so far.
oh, okay.
Maybe even a little less. Yeah, so when you play your left hand, let me show you what I mean. If you can see under here, you can imagine if this were being played by the cello or the viola or something like that, we would want this to sound very connected. So I'm actually moving my foot on every note. Now, if you can lean down, do you see in there where the dampers are? This is a full pedal, and look how little, see how slight. And then when I want to play the melody note, that damper comes up all the way. So again, watch. Sorry to strain your back, but then bring out the top a little bit of the top. But let's try the beginning and see if you can get used to thinking about maybe a less deep pedal, and then here, change your pedal on every single eighth. And if you need to look in there, you can see, yeah. While you're doing it, if you're pedaling it correctly, I should be able to see your melody, because those dampers will be going up higher than your pedal change. Try not to let the pedal lift the dampers as much as your melody note does. Keep moving your foot. See, I'm seeing full pedal changes on each melody note. So again, let me show you one more time and see if you can detect, or actually you could watch in there if you want to. So this is slight. Okay, watch these dampers and you'll see what I mean. You see this? These are full dampers. Moving my foot slightly. Do you see? Try one more time and see how that feels. Just much less with the foot. Just leave it resting. And every melody note gets a new pedal. Of touch. In the right hand, I want this touch to be slow in, slow out. Kind of gentle release. This we want the melody note to be a little more pointed, a little more accelerated into the key. Let's try one more time from the beginning. See if you can put all this together. Less pedal, more shallow pedal, right. Nice. I should say deeper into the key bed and connected, more accelerated into the key bed. that was really beautiful. So this is, you know, these are choices you can make and you can experiment with it. Depth of pedal. When you play here, we want to deepen the pedal to help you with the crescendo. Can we try that phrase? Yeah. So, and conversely, if you're trying to make a diminuendo, you lighten the pedal. Let me show you what I mean so you can see it. This is deep. Now look through here. Do you see how I'm doing like this? So you want to try? That's the idea. And so when you make your diminuendo, try not to completely lift your pedal. Let it ring still. It's just you're slightly lessening it. Can we do it one more time? Okay, one more time again. That's the idea. So again, I always talk about sauce. You know, it's like once the sauce is in there, you won't suddenly have dry pasta, right? You want to it'll always have a little bit of sauce on it. Good. Is there any place in the piece that you're really having trouble? It doesn't sound like it.
Oh yeah, here, but that's because I need to like do more, like practice more accurately.
You know what you could do with all of this is experiment with releasing the lower notes of the texture. Let me show you what I mean. So if your melody's in the left hand, right? So my right hand, you see what I'm doing with my touch? I'm releasing the thumb. And I'm trying to play like here I would play, or I'll hang on to the top notes and release, and then use pedal so that when I play over here, this is all, you can see I'm letting go, or like a place like this, release. Here I'll use my left hand to play the B flat. You can redistribute like this, you see. Instead of, and then again, release the top, release the bottom. I'll try to play as legato or pick legato groups that I try to connect on top and release and rely on my pedal for the rest of the material. That might be one way of, and even in your octave work, lightening the thumbs when you're softer. And so on. And then maybe the louder you get, you can add your thumbs in. That's called voicing your octaves. And so that we were talking about that, right? So you can, you know, increase the texture without actually doing anything other than adding more thumbs. So I think we have to stop. Is there? Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much for playing. You're so talented. All right. Oh, Aiden. And Carter.